Good morning, friends. Good morning. First of all, I'm very happy to be amongst you, especially when you are discussing Indian campuses in the post-truth era. Before that, I wish to congratulate you people of Kerala in general, for stopping that big force which is creating post-truth in the country, because of which different campuses in the country, different students have been suffering because of their atrocities. BJP, RSS, while they are making headways all over the country, states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu have stood very prominently in sticking to the secular, plural, diverse values of India, and for that I feel very happy to be in Kerala. I do congratulate and thank you, and I hope that the same spirit of secularism, respecting tolerance, respecting diversity, respecting fraternity of the country will be upheld in coming times. Now, when we are talking of campuses today, 3 or 4 major things come to my mind. In these 3 or 4 things, I will begin I think in Malayalam they mentioned about IIT Madras, Ambedkar Periyar Circle, which was banned. Second, you remember Hyderabad Central University, they tried to present that all those people who are talking about caste, who are talking about atrocities against Dalits, who are trying to present the values of Dalit assertion, they were labeled as anti-national. Similarly, the third thing which comes to my mind is the most prestigious university of the country, Jawaharlal Nehru University, where on the name of this nationalism, or whatever you call it, they tried to arrest students like Kanhaiya Kumar and his friends who had nothing to do with that fake CD which was created. For that, they created a word called Tukde Tukde Gang. But fourth campus, which I'll say, Jamia Millia, from whom many of you are belonging here, Jamia Millia came up to oppose those dastardly acts of National Citizens Register, National Population Register, and to add to that, that Citizenship Amendment Act. When they were protesting against this, the students of Jamia Millia were brutally attacked. Similarly, students of Aligarh Muslim University have been attacked mercilessly during the recent times. So these 5 campuses, when you take into consideration, which is the force which is creating such problems, whereby students are coming forward to preserve Indian Constitution, to preserve the integration of the country. These 5 campuses are a very glorious example of what student community should do, what student community is doing, and what it should keep doing in future, so that our country keeps going on the path of peace, prosperity, and harmony. So what is the common factor between IIT Madras banning of Ambedkar Periyar Circle, the institutional murder of Rohit Vemula, the suicide of Fatima, the protest in Aligarh Muslim University, the protest in Jamia Millia? What is the combining factor? There is a single factor which is against the Indian Constitution. I hope some of you may be guessing, and that single factor is politics in the name of religion, politics in the name of Hinduism, Hindu nationalism, Hindutva, politics of Hindu Rashtra. That is the major threat because of which our campuses have been sent into tizzy, because of which our campuses have been suffering. So I would like to explain to you in brief that this particular type of nationalism, how it also is using the post-truth in the form of fake news, in the form of thousands and lakhs of WhatsApp groups which are spreading falsehood against the truth, and that single force wants to see that India, which is a plural country, India, which belongs to people of all religions, that particular force wants that all the people should talk about single religion to which they belong. Actually, I must say, those people who are doing politics in the name of Hindu religion have nothing to do with morality of Hindu religion. I am very clear about it. The morality of Hindu religion was best expressed in none other than father of the nation, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who, with his massive efforts, took people of all religions, all regions, all languages together as single Indian entity. And that's what created secular democratic India with the constitution, which gives us beautiful preamble. And that preamble, I request you all that you should memorize that preamble. It begins with, "We the people of India." And it gives the central message of liberty, equality, fraternity. So whatever be my religion, I am an equal citizen. Whatever be my gender, male or female, I am an equal citizen. Whatever be my language, I am an equal citizen. So this is what campuses have to uphold. To uphold this, we have to realize how those people who are creating confusion in the name of Hindu religion, they have nothing to do with Hindu religion. Actually, they are wanting to uphold the Brahminical values. They want to uphold Brahminical values, which means they want to bring in hierarchy, the low and up based on birth, low and up based on birth of caste, low and birth based on caste, based of gender, and they regard that India belongs only to Hindus. So how did they begin? They were not there always. This Hindu nationalism is actually against the basic tenets of Hindu religion which Mahatma Gandhi practiced, which Sant Kabir practiced. So how did this come up? This comes up in opposition to the movement for Indian nationalism. Movement for Indian nationalism came up as an anti-colonial movement. I hope you all remember that India was a slave of Britain. And British rulers, they not only ruled, they also plundered the country. Please remember, there were many Muslim kings who ruled the country. Some Muslim kings came, plundered, went away. Those Muslim kings who ruled here became a part of this land. They became a part of this culture. They were inseparable from the basic Indian community which was evolving. So from this, when the British came, their main goal was first, trade. They first wanted to do benefit from trade. Second, they ruled here. And third, they plundered the country. I request you to go through the brilliant book by your Kerala Trivandrum MP Shashi Tharoor. The name of book is Dark Era of Empire. Shashi Tharoor tells us how British Empire plundered the country with millions and millions of our wealth they took away. So in order to take away our wealth, they brought certain changes. In order to rule the country, they brought certain changes. So I will give you a simple formula to remember what changes British brought. First was transport, so that they can take away our material from interior places to the port cities like Kochi or Kozhikode. So that change was rail. You'll remember. What was that change? Rail. Second was to improve communication. British Viceroy, who was sitting in Kolkata, he had to send the letters. So to improve the communication, they brought in mail. telephone, telegraph, postal system. Third thing they brought was very good also, that was modern education, modern judicial system. And modern judicial system, just for the sake of memory, modern judicial system or any judicial system finally lands up in the jail. So I hope you will be able to remember the three major changes: rail, mail and jail. Okay. Now with this, on one side begins the Indian nationalism. Three new social classes come up representing Indian nationalism. These three new classes are modern businessmen, industrialists like Tata, Birla, Bajaj, Singhania, Dalmia. They set up industries. In the industries, workers are working. So that is the second major group. And the third group which comes up is those of the modern educated classes. In this modern educated classes, lot of universities came up, lot of campuses came up who were very much contributing to the making of modern India. From this side, industrialists, workers and the modern educated classes, including students and campuses, comes up the concept of Indian nationalism. Now what is happening to the older classes? There are Rajas, kings. Kings are Hindus, kings are Muslims. Hindu king Raja, Muslim king Nawab. When these changes started coming up, they started feeling threatened. And when they started feeling threatened, they did not say that their power is under threat. Very cleverly, very shrewdly, to put confusion in the people's eye, they said, our religion is in danger. So what will a Hindu Raja say? Hindu Raja started saying Hinduism in danger. What was Muslim Nawab saying? Islam in danger. Remember my sentence, friends, religion is never in danger. What is in danger is the interest of few vested groups. Anyway, from these side groups are the rising classes. These are the weakening, declining classes. From the rising classes come up three type of representative organizations. What are the three representative organizations? One leader, one organization, I'll tell you. Shaheed Bhagat Singh, Naujawan Bharat Sabha. Bhimrao Babasaheb Ambedkar, Republican Party of India. And the group which led the freedom movement, I represented by four major figures. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Annie Besant, Sardar Baldev Singh and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, coming up in the form of Indian National Congress. Please see the names of these organizations which are going for Indian nationalism. Naujawan Bharat Sabha, Republican Party of India, Bharatiya Rashtriya Congress. Now they form Indian nationalism. And from the declining classes, weakening classes, the Muslim group comes in the form of Muslim League. Hindu group comes in the form of Hindu Mahasabha. Initially only Rajas are there, Nawabs are there, kings are there, landlords are there. Later on, some elite group also joins. And that's why people like Jinnah, they talk of Muslim nation. People like Savarkar, they talk of Hindu nation. Taking this Savarkar's message further comes up that dangerous organization which you can guess today, which is there in Kerala, but which is not able to come to the political power, which I hope if you can guess and answer my question, which was that organization whose people were earlier wearing half pants, now they are wearing full pants? Can you guess? RSS. So RSS comes up in 1925 for Hindu nationalism. Hindu Mahasabha for Hindu nation. Muslim League for Muslim nation. And what is on this side? Naujawan Bharat Sabha for India. Ambedkar for India. Indian National Congress for India. Now, efforts of these people who were rising, this brought Indian nation. People from this side, they not only kept aloof from the freedom movement, they also did not contribute to the values of liberty, equality, fraternity. So with the efforts of these groups, we became an Indian nation. And today, these people, of course, I will not talk of Muslim League. I will not talk of Muslim League of Kerala, that is a different political party. The Muslim League, which was responsible for formation of Pakistan, said that East Pakistan Where's Pakistan? This is Pakistan. One religion, one country. What happened to Pakistan? Muhammad Ali Jinnah went to Dhaka. He said Urdu should be the national language. Now people from Bengal said, what is this Urdu? Because Indian Muslims have as many languages as Indian Hindus have. So based on this point, the same Pakistan, which was made in the name of Islam, broke into two pieces, Pakistan and Bangladesh. India so far came up in the name of secularism, pluralism, diversity, harmony, fraternity. That remains single and united country till the day. Now, people like RSS, what type of issues there is? I must say, if I ask you, each of you sitting in this hall, if I ask you what is a major problem being faced by the country, I'm sure you will tell me unemployment is a major problem facing the country. Right or wrong? Right. But have you heard these people raising such questions? What type of questions they raise? They raise the questions like Ram Temple, as if building a Ram Temple will solve the problem of poverty, illiteracy, hunger, misery, unemployment, poor health services. So they raise issues related to emotions. Because of their emotions, there is a division in the society. They spread hatred. They spread hatred against minorities, and this hatred forms the basis of violence. This violence in turn forms the basis of polarization, and it is because of this polarization that this party has become stronger during last 30 days. So as campus students, as students who believe in humanity, whatever be my religion, I am a good Hindu, good Muslim, good Christian, humanity is my religion. And as an Indian, my religion is Indian Constitution. So, while on one side we have Indian Constitution as guiding principle, on other side, people like those who are today dominating on the issue of identity. What is identity? Like Ram Temple, cow, beef. Of course, fortunately in Kerala, when that party was canvassing, they never raised the issue of cow and beef. But all over the country, close to 100 people were done to death on the name of beef and cow. Then lately, now they are coming up with the issue of Citizen Amendment Act. Now this act definitely is a divisive act, because in this act, they are including everybody except Muslims. So this type of division, that's why today many campuses are protesting, many students like you, they are coming to the streets, they are opposing the policies of this government, and they are saying that we don't want such discriminatory laws which divide the people along the lines of religion. So you, as students, people belonging to campus in the post-truth era, have a big responsibility, because powers like this, who are talking in the name of religion, who are talking, dividing the society in the name of religion, they are becoming stronger because we are keeping quiet. Always remember that. People who keep quiet are also supporting those who are trying to do violence. So as campus people, we have to protest. We have to raise our voice against the injustices against religious minorities, injustices against peasants and farmers, injustices against poor children who are dying in the hospitals because of lack of oxygen. Indian students have played major role in freedom movement. And the recent time, Jawaharlal Nehru University, that example is there in front of you, when people like Kanhaiya Kumar, Sheila Rashid, Umar Khalid, they came up and they shook the whole country in asserting the values of democracy. So we have a big burden on our head. What is that burden? That today India is being damaged. India is being attacked by the values of religious nationalism. One last example I'll give you how to understand Hinduism, how to distinguish Hinduism from Hindutva, how to distinguish Hinduism from Hindu nationalism. So there is a very simple example. On one side, representing Hinduism is a person like Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who said, I am a Hindu. I can give my life for my religion, but that is my personal matter. The state for whose fashioning I am struggling, that state will neither be guided by my religion or by your religion. So on this side is a people like Gandhi. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, one of the greatest Muslims of his time, he never talked of partition. He never demanded Pakistan. Similarly, on the other side, we have people like Nathuram Godse, Hindu Mahasabha, RSS. I don't know what is the degree of their religiosity. I honestly don't know. Because Savarkar, today in Kerala you may not be knowing, but all over the country they are trying to raise the issue of beef eating and trying to kill the people in the name of holy cow and all that. But I must tell you, Savarkar, who belonged to this group, he said to regard cow as holy, to regard cow as mother is wrong. Cow is basically a useful animal. So these type of people, I don't know the degree of their religiosity, but they do politics in the name of religion. And one interesting fact I'll tell you, I don't know whether you are understanding, I hope you know that as far as issue of Ram Temple, issue of cow, issue of CAA is concerned, they are raising it so that they can divide the society and rule. And that's where I'll give one small example, one jocular example I'll give you. I hope you must have heard about that Prime Minister who was also writing poetry, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Now, what is their interest in cow? I'll tell you. So once Atal Bihari Vajpayee was giving on a lecture tour in America. So when he was in a lecture tour in America, after giving the lecture, dinner was being served. And when dinner was being served, Atalji's neighbor said, Atalji, what is happening? They are serving us beef. Atalji said, so what is the problem? This doesn't belong to Indian cow, this belongs to American cow. So he was merrily enjoying his beef, no problem. So this is what their interest is, that raise the issues which can divide the society. So I'll request you, number one, to check the genuineness of the news. Lot of fake news is being spread in the post-truth era. We have to protect our society from post-truth, from this fake news which these people are spreading. Number two, we have to read Indian Constitution's preamble on regular basis. That has to be the foundation on which we build the future India. And building the future India is our responsibility. More than my generation, it is your generation which now should lead the older generation. Whenever I am talking of people like Kanhaiya Kumar, Sheila Rashid and Umar Khalid, I am saying whatever little our generation did, that may not be effective. But I see lot of hope in people like you, lot of hope in new leadership which is emerging from campuses, and that leadership will give us a better India. That is my deep hope. With this, I wish you all the best. And I inaugurate this conference with the hope that we will carry these values in our future life for a better India. Thank you very much.